What's up, guys? Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Today, I'm joined with Jordan, who has done 60,000 in sales, flipping books on Amazon, primarily buying books on Amazon or maybe eBay, and then reselling them on Amazon FBA. So welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast.
Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Hear the stories of Amazon sellers crushing it in the game and keep up with the latest strategies that are working. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you truly try and work really hard, you will make a ridiculous amount of money selling on Amazon.
What's up, man?
Nothing much.
So tell us how you got started and kind of what your business model is. And I'm curious who you learned from as well, because there's a lot of different people you could have learned from. I'm curious who got you in the game.
Sure. So this is like the third or fourth method of making money online that I actually tried, but it's the first one that actually worked. So
Okay.
yeah, I fell into a couple different traps of gurus and just various courses and things like that.
What
But
did you try before?
yeah, so the first big thing that I tried was drop shipping onto a Shopify store.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so many.
I feel like that could go really well or like really poorly. Like I look back, like I remember as I started selling a lot on Amazon, I was like, man, like once I learned, I didn't know anything. Like when I first started, like again, used books was just like you said, it was the only thing that worked for me. And then as I started making money, I got a little cocky and I'm like, oh, I should have done something else because now I'm limited by the capital I can spend. I should have done drop shipping. But in theory, it's such a good idea because you can like get infinite products to sell and you don't have to buy them until they sell. But easier said than done.
Problem is you have to have a product that people want to buy and you have to have really good marketing. And even if you have an excellent product and you don't have good marketing, you're screwed. So like there's a lot of skills that go behind that. And I remember when I was running that business, I had like 6 or 7 different softwares and there's so many skills you have to have. But what I love about books and what I love about Amazon is you only have to get really good at like 1 or 2 things to be successful.
Yeah. Just finding the inventory. With Shopify, is it all about like SEO or like what's the marketing at? Is it like ads, paid ads? Like what do you mean by getting good at marketing? Like the people who were successful, like what were they really good at?
Paid ads is probably the best way to start if you don't have a following.
Gotcha.
If you have a good brand, if you build something up over years and years, as soon as you drop your product, you can get sales immediately. But as far as getting results, starting as a nobody, paid ads is the way to go. SEO takes a while to build up as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then with books, did you immediately go OA or did you start thrifting?
I started with thrifting.
Okay.
Yeah. So while I was doing my drop shipping to Shopify, not getting any results, wasting a ton of money on TikTok ads, Facebook ads, I was like, this is ridiculous. I hate this. And I was just kind of going down YouTube rabbit holes. And then I found drop shipping from Amazon to eBay. Yeah. Or drop shipping from Amazon to Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
And I was working on that. And then I watched a podcast. I found Steve Rakin on, he was a guest on this guy who was teaching drop shipping from eBay to Facebook Marketplace. And then I found out about
Paul Lipsky.
Yeah, Paul Lipsky.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was doing his thing and I saw he had Steve Rakin on. And then I bought his course, eBay to Amazon. And then his recommendation in his masterclass, which is awesome, is to start with Thrifting Books because it's low risk. You kind of learn how the business works and then you can go on to other products from there. But what I did, I found that Thrifting Books was working pretty well for me.
Yep.
And I just liked books, so I haven't moved on and I'm just kind of scaling that up with OA.
Yeah. So you start Thrifting Books. What do you get up to in sales? Just Thrifting Books?
Maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 a month.
Nice. And what are you doing to find these books? Are you strictly thrift stores? You going to used bookstores? You doing like next door? Like give us some sauce.
Yeah. At the time I was doing thrift stores, used bookstores, and then library sales.
Nice.
And one other experiment I did, I bought an abandoned storage unit.
Nice.
It didn't really work out.
Yeah. Again, that's one of those things. It's like it could be awesome or likely it's going to be terrible.
Yeah. was backbreaking work. The unit was like half full of trash, half full of used books.
Yeah.
I hired a crew to take out the trash, and then I had like thousands of like dusty books. Like some of them were stained, and
Yep.
I don't even
Everyone's making money except for you. The storage unit's making money. The trash people are making money.
yeah, I'd be surprised if I broke even.
Mhm.
But yeah, library sales were good for me too. I went to a couple of those.
Did you find them on booksalefinder.com?
Yep.
Okay. Did you ever go to a library sale that wasn't advertised on booksalefinder.com?
No, just Book Sale Finder. Yeah.
Not advertised on there. Most of the time, there aren't that many resellers. If they do a poor job of advertising it, and you'll just clean up.
Yeah. But part of what opened my eyes to online arbitrage is I was at a library sale and I started to realize that I need to have more data points behind the decisions that I'm making because I got sick of dealing with duds, especially after the storage unit.
Yeah.
Didn't want to waste my money on stuff that wasn't going to sell. So what I started doing is I was going through all the books with Scout IQ, grabbing all the greens. And I knew that like when I had an hour left of the library sale before they closed down, it's like, I got to sit down with this pile and go through them with Keepa to see if they're actually, if this is an anomaly of the price being this high, or if it's consistently going to sell for this. And I just remember like going through my stack of books and pulling up Keepa on my phone and looking at the graph for every single one of them. And through doing that, I dwindled down my pile of like 50 books down to like 10 or 12 that were actually valuable or that were going to fit my model. And then I just remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, I have this, like, you know, amazing way to look at all this data, but why am I looking at this through a phone? Like I should be doing this from home. I should be doing this through a computer.
Yeah.
Where I don't have like, you know, an angry librarian saying, we closed down 10 minutes ago. You need to get out of here, you know?
Yep. And so now you've done 10,000 in sales and that's all flips via online arbitrage.
Yeah. About 10,000 monthly.
So what made you start doing OA? Like, I mean, who did you start following? Was it Joji Davenport? Was it Victor Galejos, Peter Valley? Like, who'd you see doing OA?
Joji. So Joji is how I learned the foundational Keepa knowledge. And then he had Victor Gallegos on. And that video that they filmed 8 months ago, Victor talking about how he flips Christmas books, buying and selling in December, and just seeing those valleys and those peaks, like I got fired up and I was like, I'm dropping everything else. I'm getting into seasonal. Yeah. So since then, I've been learning from Victor. He's a great teacher. His group is unlike that which I've seen anywhere else on the internet. People just giving away knowledge.
Yeah.
And,
I concur. We'll put a link to Victor's group below here. It's a great what is it? The seasonal book flipper something.
Facebook group, Amazon Booksellers dash seasonal arbitrage.
Seasonal arbitrage, yeah. So he just gave away so much game for free. Like it's a culture of just like free knowledge and sharing in there. It's really good. Yeah,
the group started like 5 or 6 years ago, and so I spent 3 or 4 days just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through years of posts to learn about the pitfalls and to learn about how you can get an edge in the business. And then once I read everything, I just started spamming questions into the group every day. I'd put like 2 or 3 questions and Victor would respond to them, or other successful booksellers would respond to them. And I was able to cut the learning curve and really understand how to use Keepa before investing into the business more. Yeah.
I'm curious what your turn rate is. Like what % of your inventory are you selling every month?
That I don't know.
Do you know how much inventory you have?
Right now I have like 700 books.
Okay. And you've done 10,000 in sales. You know your average sales price?
I think it's like 37, 38. Okay.
You said 10,000. So we can just do 10,000 divided by, let's just say 38, 263. So you have 1,000 in stock, you said?
Let's see.
Active.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've sold 263. So you take 263, divide it by 1,000 to get 26% turn rate each month. That's pretty good. You're selling about 25% of your inventory. Does it sound about right to you?
That's not the right way to think about it with seasonal selling.
True,
So
because you'll have 1 month where you sell like 200%.
yeah, it's been an awful month.
Yeah.
And right
I
now,
guess for your model, we'd have to take like the whole year and divide it by
exactly.
average inventory divided by total sales for 12 months or something. 12
Yep,
months. Yeah.
that's what I
So,
do. So I look like 4 or 5 months in the future, figure out what's going to sell at that time, and I buy it now. And so really, the percentage of the books that I buy that actually sell is like over 95%. It's not going to happen in the next 2 or 3 months. It's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 months, like for sure. So yeah.
Nice. So yeah, walk us through what makes a good purchase. What are you looking for? What's your average purchase price? Your average sales price is 38. You buying books on average for $10 then?
Yeah, the ones I sell for, if I buy it for 10, I want to sell it for like 35. If I buy it for 20, I want to sell it for 45. It's kind of the 2x rule. I know that if I can buy a book for $30, I want to sell it for like over 60. And if I do that, then I can hit my 50% gross margin. Yeah.
What's a secret that you've learned within online arbitrage book flipping that you feel like really has allowed you to grow your business?
Well, once you figure out the numbers that you want to hit, it's all about volume, right? So the way you increase volume is you decrease the amount of time that you're looking at each particular book. And something that I've figured out is how to limit the amount of times I look at a keepograph for a book, right? So if you're sourcing in the wild, you find something, you look at the keepograph to see if it's worth it, and then you buy it. And then if you're doing prep from home, as soon as you get it and you're ready to list it, you're like, what did I want to sell this for? Look at the keepograph again. So we're up to 2. And then you ship it off to Amazon. And then when it's time to set your repricer, you're like, what should my min max price be? Let me look at the keepograph. 3rd time. And maybe it sells, maybe it doesn't. If you aren't able to sell the book, you're going to have to look at the keepograph for the 4th time to reset your min so that you can actually sell it through. But there's a couple things you can do to prevent yourself from having to do that. So I only look at a keepograph once, best case scenario. So I find a winner, I buy it, I know what my min and max are, and I put it into my spreadsheet, and then it's in my pipeline. So from that point forward, I'm not looking at it again to set my min max. I already have that, and I'm just able to extract it from my spreadsheet, and it saves me time on the back end. So the main thing is just buying more books and not having to reanalyze everything. Yeah. The other thing.
Are you going to put any of that information in the SKU, like min max price, or it's all in the spreadsheet for you?
Yeah. So I'm able to, when I do a shipment, I'm doing it through my prep center now. But when you do a shipment, you're able to, when I was using GoToList, I would download the batch that I sent to Amazon, and it has all the SKUs. And then I would put that list into my spreadsheet, and then it would pull the mins and maxes from my spreadsheet. And then I would upload that onto Amazon through their repricer. And now I'm doing that through my prep center. So every shipment that they send out for me, they give me my SKUs, and I use that list of SKUs to pull the mins and maxes from my spreadsheet. And then I bulk upload the automatic repricer onto Amazon. So
nice.
Yeah.
And so you're just using Amazon's repricer?
Yeah. I love it because it's free and because they have all of the data. You know, these other repricing softwares, they can't see everything because Amazon doesn't share all that information.
What kind of rules are you setting up? Because I know the other softwares allow you to set up rules like price up at night. Like the other Amazon's goal is obviously to make the customer happy. And most of the time to make the customer happy, they have to have a lower price. And so these other softwares can like do things like price up at night. I guess Amazon probably allows you to consider FBA offer 1 at least in repricing. They got to let you, I mean, like they probably allow you to use the same data they give in their API to reprice, which they almost always give you FBA offer 1. Or buy box. But
all they can do, all the Amazon repricer does is it allows you to, within your window, match buy box or undercut the buy box, match the low seller or undercut the low seller by a prescribed amount.
Yeah, so, there's a software out there that's Lowkey for booksellers that charges 2% of your gross sales, which is a hefty fee. I have a buddy that he does $600,000 a month from Canada, Vishal Muti. He'll be speaking at Miami Sellers Conference this year. He uses the software, and I think he got like a discounted rate, like 1% or 1.5%, but he's still paying. Like, do the math on that: $600K times 0.01, still $6,000 to $9,000 a month is what he's paying. And what it does is it actually scrapes. Hopefully Amazon's not watching this. It scrapes all the offers. So it tells you, even if it's not available in the API, because again, Amazon wants to keep the customers happy. They don't give a shit about sellers. They don't give a shit about our profit. So what this software does is it scrapes the ASIN to tell you, hey, what's all the FBA competition? And so instead of Amazon returning, because Amazon only gives you the lowest 20 prices. And so if the FBA prices exist above the lowest 20, they don't show it to you. And so what this software does is it compiles all FBA offers the lowest 5, and then it sets rules. Okay, if it's a low sales rank book, a fast seller, let's go to the 5th slot, which can drastically improve your profit margin if you do that across thousands and thousands of books. I don't know if it's worth paying $9,000 a month, but apparently a lot of people think it is. And the software also helps you like sort books and stuff like that too. But yeah, repricing on Amazon is a very interesting topic.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my repricer through Amazon can see all of the FBA offers, even if they're above those lower merchant fulfilled offers.
I'd be curious. I don't think so. I'd be curious if you can set a rule up to price. You probably can't set a rule to price FBA offer 3 if there are 100 offers on the listing and all the FBA offers exist above the lowest 20. Like, I just don't. I mean, there's a small chance, but I feel like everyone would talk about that if that was the case.
No, you're right. You can't place yourself 3rd in line or 4th in line if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
it'll stay at the minimum price until you're the lowest price, and then it will price up to the number 2, right below the number 2.
Right.
But you're right. There's not a lot of flexibility, or it's not super complicated. It's pretty basic.
But yeah, I'm also not sure how much better like public repricers are compared to Amazon's repricer, other than doing things like pricing up at night and stuff like that. Like the repricers are still limited by the same data, unless they're getting data from like Keepa, which would be interesting. I know some repricers do that, like look at the historical average sales price and stuff like that. What other tips do you have for people? I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm not exactly sure what questions to ask. Like, what advice would you have for people who, my audience, a lot of people are just getting started, thrifting books, maybe they have success, maybe they're at 1,000 in sales or 5,000 in sales selling books, and book arbitrage is really appealing to them because online arbitrage, the traditional way, is like, holy shit, I'm selling shoes now, I'm selling apparel, but books kind of make sense. So, I mean, what tips would you have for people just getting started, or maybe some golden nuggets that I don't know the right questions to probe you and ask?
Yeah, just some mindset tips. Focus on yourself, and don't pay attention to other people's sales, because you don't even know what they spent to make that, and you don't even know what their margins are. So it's easy to, like, there's always going to be someone better than you, but just focus on yourself and keep improving your business. It's the first thing. Second thing is, if you want to branch off into online arbitrage, I would say just be careful going too deep before you really have an understanding of how it all works. If you find a book that looks like a deal, I would say if you feel confident in your ability to predict what it's going to sell for, just buy one of them until you understand. You'll reach a certain point in your keep and knowledge where you can look at a graph and you'll know how much demand there is year over year. You'll know the probability of selling multiple copies versus I don't really know if it's going to sell. And so a mistake that I used to make is if I knew that a book was very valuable, I would just buy a ton of them. But you shouldn't buy books based on how valuable they are. You should buy them based on how much demand there is for the book. Because if it only sells 5 or 10, 15 times a year, you don't want to buy 20 of them. You're going to be sitting on those for years. You only just want to buy one. So yeah, you just kind of have to understand like the supply and demand with sales rank and used offer count and things like that to make those decisions to really go deep. But when you're starting off, like, I'd be really careful with that.
Yeah. So do your keeper graphs generally, I know you're doing a lot of seasonal flips, but I've looked at like Steve Rakin's and Joji Davenport's keepas for their sold items. And most of the time they're just consistent keepa graphs. So like they have drop, maybe every 3 or 4 days. So, or maybe more. And it just kind of surprised me because like when I see books like that, I'm like, oh, like it doesn't sell super fast. But both of them have like a 30 to 50% sell through rate per month.
Mhm.
You know, do your keepas look more, I imagine, seasonal, where it's like nothing and then everything, or are they still kind of consistent?
It can kind of be both, but mainly what I do, high school books and college books, they go up during the beginning of school season and they go down in the middle of school season. So it's almost like kind of just like I'm an engineer. So the way I think about it is like math. It just kind of reminds me of like calculus class. Like you got sine, cosine, and tangent. Those things go up and down and up and down. And you buy it at the bottom and you sell at the top. It's not that complicated. So yeah, for most of the year, the books that I'm buying aren't worth much. And then when school starts, back to school rush is happening, boom, the prices go way up, and that's when it's time to sell. And you'll see that there's a correlation between the sales rank and the used offer count. So as there's more used offers on the market, as there's more books available to buy, the sales rank will also go higher. So it's like less popular. And then as you see as we get closer to textbook season, the sales rank will improve and the used offer count will start to dive as well. So when you see both of those going up and down, you know you have a repeatable pattern. And when you see that repeatable pattern, that gives you confidence to buy.
Right.
And with that, the thing about seasonal arbitrage is you do have opportunities. If you find a big winner, you have opportunities to buy multiple copies. If you're looking for a book that's consistently $50 from January to December, it's $50. And then today I see, through Keep It Deals or whatever it is, it's worth $8. It's like, oh, I'm going to pick it up because that's a fantastic deal. And books like that, they're gone in like the first 30 seconds. If you're the first one, you grab it, you're going to sell it for 50, but that's going to be the only one. But with seasonal books, the overall demand for that book, it goes way down and way up. And while it's down, there's going to be dozens, or, dozens of copies that you can pick up.
How many people do you think have like proprietary software to look for those books that just tank in price? I know you can use Keep a Product Finder, but do you think there's like a handful of people doing a couple million a year that just have a software that purchases for them automatically and like looks for those books?
I wonder about that all the time. To find those anomalies, just out of nowhere, a book will just completely drop to the floor, whether it's a automatic repricer going haywire or whether it's just a seller trying to get rid of all their stuff. I have not heard of a robot out there that's picking up those books. Maybe it exists. But there's people like me out there that I'm tracking probably thousands of books by now. And when I get that alert on my phone, like I'm on top of it, just like boom, like 20 seconds later, sometimes like 15 seconds later, after it drops, like it's mine. So it looks like a robot picked it up, but if you got someone who's ready, who's at their computer, like they'll grab it. So it's hard to say whether it's a human or whether it's a software.
Tell me if I made a good decision on this book. I got pumped up the other day and I used to do book arbitrage way back in the day when I first started. And I think I actually had like a 60% return on my investment, but I was so poor at managing cash flow. I was an idiot. I like maxed out my cards and it just felt like I lost money, but I actually didn't. Like I looked at the tracking spreadsheet like 6 months afterwards. I'm like, oh, I didn't actually lose money. I just was cash flow negative for a while. This is like 2019, 2018. But what's your analysis of this book? I picked this book up for like $3 the other day here. I was this purchase right here. I picked it up for $2.11. I probably paid like $5-6 for the book. Is this a good flip? Because I mean, it sold for $53 a while back, but there's also decent number of used offers, but there's no prime competition. So I'm like, at least I can probably just sell it for like $20 maybe or 30.
What's it buy boxing for now?
Well, there's no FBA offers. It's buy boxing for 10 right now.
School 36th edition law. I don't see a new edition. It'll typically say new edition is out, which is a big red flag, especially for textbooks, especially for law books. If you scroll down, we'll see that year over year, gradually, the sales rate is increasing over time. It's getting bigger, which means it's getting less popular.
Yep.
It's holding value, 130.
75, sold for 137, 122, sold for $40 there.
Can you go to the year view?
Somebody snagged it right here. It's probably Victor.
Here's the thing. It literally sells 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
So it will. I mean, it can be valuable. I would have been on the fence. I would have been on the fence for this one. I think you'll be able to sell it.
Yeah.
Because there's no FBA offers. That is really what causes me to pull the trigger a lot of the times. If there's no FBA offers, like you're just going to get it. The only thing I'd be concerned about is the high pricing error.
This is so interesting to me how like when Amazon was on it, look how popular it was. And all of a sudden they're off of it and you can see the sales rate immediately goes away. So it's like Amazon stopped showing it to people as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I feel like there might be a new edition. That's what I would look at. And if there is a new edition, then the chances of selling this would go down.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but
well, that's my life savings, so I hope it works out. What are your goals for the future?
My goals.
Are you a big goal guy? Did you sit down and write down 2024 goals?
I didn't write them down this year. I probably should have. When you write them down, they're more likely to happen.
Yeah.
The thing is, I wrote goals down last year, And one of those goals was become a real entrepreneur, or like make my first dollar that wasn't on payroll. And that happened, but I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't written it down. So
And how old are you again?
26.
Nice.
Yeah. So maybe I should have wrote them down. But my goals, not necessarily for this year, but for the future, is to either turn this into a real business or start another real business. Because the way I think of Amazon, flipping books, I feel like I'm self-employed, because the second I stop working is the second I stop making money, So figuring out a way to dumb it down and systematize it down to where like a caveman could do it, and then I can teach someone to do it for me through virtual assistants. So either getting my processes like totally nailed down and outsourcing the sourcing, or starting up a B2B business to help other sellers become successful and to help them run their businesses just a little bit more efficiently. So for now, I'm keeping my head down. What's up?
Or both.
Or both. Yeah.
Actually, both will probably be better, because then you could say, hey, I have this thing systematized, and then it'd be easier to land clients.
Yeah, true. That's your first piece of social proof, or that's your first piece of evidence right there. It's like, I made it work for myself. I can make it work for you too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So growing the Amazon business, figuring out a need in the market that I can actually help out with, and then doing that. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I saw one of your videos recently. You talked about this, like anybody can figure out how to make money on Amazon. Anyone can get to like, 6 figures in sales, or maybe even 6 figures in profit per year. But you'll reach a certain point where you got to figure out what works for you. Like you have to find your place in e-commerce, your place on Amazon, where you have a competitive edge that you can share with other people. Or maybe you want to go into coaching. Maybe you want to, start a course to share your secrets, or whatever it is. Like you got to find your niche, because
I think
all I'm doing is just copy and paste what Victor and Joji are doing. You know what I mean?
Not necessarily. I mean, you probably had a different experience coming up, and yeah, they're the experts, but people are going to vibe with you differently than, with somebody like them, and personal brand is a big thing. And personal brand includes you, your voice, your hobbies, like what you're interested in. And you probably have different opinions on different aspects of book selling. But yeah, I think it's certainly true. I don't know if this was a video you watched, but I think at a certain point you start making not making so much on Amazon, but if you're in an inventory heavy business, there's a certain point where maybe at all times 100K of your capital is like tied up in inventory.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a liability. And I learned that the very, very hard way last year when all my accounts were shut down. And I shared that on social media, but like I had probably $200,000 worth of inventory tied up. And that's when I realized, like, hey, this is a huge liability if this happens. So maybe moving forward, I mean, I already had my personal brand. GoToList wasn't making me money at the time. Now it is. I don't sell courses anymore, but I used to. That's another way to make money. And but even if you're not going to go like the guru route of being like somebody like me or Joji, or Victor's like a non-guru guru. He doesn't post on YouTube enough to be a guru. But I think even one of my best friends, he runs his Amazon business, and he sells primarily one brand. And he's at the stage now where he's like, well, I don't want to keep putting everything back in, because if I do and it gets shut down, then it was all for nothing. It's just a big risk. So he's pulling money out and he's putting it in he's trying to like create a different business, but he's at least taking money out. And he's buying like guns or like, things that could hold value. but he ultimately has the goal of, hey, like it would be nice to have something outside of Amazon to make money.
True.
And that's a benefit of having a job. Like if you have a job and you sell on Amazon, good for you. Like you have this other source of income. I think there are benefits. And if you go back and watch my early YouTube videos, I'm just like so deliberate about like quit your fucking job, sell on Amazon. Like you'll figure it out. It's true. You will, but you're going to suffer a lot and you're going to have sleepless nights and it's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely stressful. And you can mitigate that by having a job or another business that makes money. You know, if you go all in on Amazon and you're trying to scale your business, it's actually incredibly difficult because you have to continue putting your money back in. And so you could be cash flow neutral or even negative for your first year if we're doing wholesale or something that takes a lot of money. Even any model, even eBay to Amazon or Amazon to Amazon or whatever, you can be cash flow negative for a hot minute. Like if you're always putting everything back into the business, yeah, your numbers are going up, but you're putting all the capital back in. So how are you paying yourself? You know? And so it's an interesting space, but I mean, I'm sure like if you have the intention to make a personal brand for yourself, I don't think a personal brand could ever hurt. I would just do it. I mean, you already have good insights in the groups and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough people making content on online arbitrage flipping. Like I think it'd be nice to have a few more faces out there.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of truth to what you just said. So I'm still doing engineering work part-time and I'm doing Amazon part-time. And it is so freeing to me that I have that consistent income as an engineer.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, we live off of that. And so I'm reinvesting 100% of Amazon. I'm not taking any money out of Amazon. Absolutely not. I'm scaling it up to a point where it starts spitting out money that we can start to pay ourselves if we want.
Yeah.
Or I can offload it into other investments or into my next business or whatever it is. But you're so right. To be able to scale and sustain your lifestyle, you have to start with a huge amount of capital, or I don't know, just to think that you have the skill and the capital needed to just immediately like replace your income and grow your business. Like that's pretty hard to accomplish. So it's personally not for me. As far as whether to start a personal brand or not, like I think there's like kind of two ways to go about it. Like you can either like let yourself be known and start putting out videos and posts and things like that. And then when you start your own business, you can use your own thing and you can market it to your own following, right? Or alternatively, you can be really smart or be very charismatic and do a bunch of networking to really get to know a bunch of people, and then opportunities can come to you. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of on the fence between those two things.
What was the first one again?
The first one is personal brand. Spend a couple years building it up to get your following, start a business and market to your following. And
I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think you can do both of those things. And I think one is always an option to pitch your audience or offer your audience something. I'll pitch them right now. Guys, we have a business called restrictedinventory.com.
Grind hard, well done, sir, and welcome to
where I will sell your textbook for you, and we never take more than $20. So you send us a $100 textbook, you guys keep 80 and we keep 20. Boom, just pitched them right there. Did I lose some people's interest? And some people just leave the video? Maybe. But maybe some people watched it and they don't look at it as a pitch. They look at it as, holy shit, wait, I can sell you a textbook and make $80 and you only keep 20. It's not a 50-50 split anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the way I can look at it. Like, you can pitch your audience, but at the same time, it's not really like a pitch. It's like I do Miami Sellers Conference, and I look at that as like I'm filling a hole in the market. Like, there's a need for a conference with a bunch of – there's no conference out there that has booksellers, online arbitrage sellers, and wholesalers come together. Why do they all come together? Because that's my audience. I have booksellers. I have wholesalers. I have online arbitrage selling friends, and like just all to get together. And so there's a small, unique hole for that. And like I don't even look at that as taken away from my audience. Like the jab, right hook that Gary Vee talks about, I just look at it as jab, 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 because maybe some people are like, oh, I'm tired of them fucking pitching this conference all the time. Okay, well, that's just how you interpreted it. You interpret it as a right hook when it actually, like, it's a fuck ton of work for me. And I really do think that it's something I want personally. I think a lot of people want it too. And
Yeah.
so this idea of building an audience just to eventually sell them something isn't necessarily true. Like, even people trading time to watch this podcast is a form of them, almost purchasing from me because they're spending their time to consume it. So in a way, like, everything's a pitch. You could kind of look at it both ways. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
but I think certainly, like, the ultimate advantage of having a personal brand is the networking part. I think that is, and you'll always be able to offer your audience some value, and they'll tell you or not if it's worth it. They'll tell you if
Uh-huh.
what you're doing is bullshit or not, real quick. So
You're right, man. It's not a zero-sum game. So just like you said, like, it's not a pitch, it's an offer. It's an offer for a win-win situation,
yeah,
whether it's restricted inventory you just talked about, whether it's Miami Sellers Conference. It's not taking from them, because if it's taking from them, then they wouldn't do it. Like, people aren't idiots. Like, they're not going to just let you take from them. They
yeah,
will, if the value is there, they will join, they will participate, and it will increase them and it will increase you at the same time, and everybody can win.
yeah,
So you have to have the right perspective on that, because people know when they're getting screwed over. Like, they're not going to let it happen. They're not
yeah,
going to continue to subscribe to you
yeah,
when they realize that you're just pulling a fast one on them. So
yeah. I think one of the best pieces of advice is document, don't create. Just document your journey, and there's an art to doing that in a way that provides value. But just turn the camera on, have conversations, or document your processes, and you know I think I'll do that my whole life. Like, even when I'm done with Amazon, I think I'll document jujitsu and salsa, and I already do that, but I'm definitely more intentional about putting Amazon content out right now because not everyone wants to see my white ass dance on the dance floor every night or do jujitsu, but I'll sprinkle those in, but maybe one day those become the focus or the spotlight, or maybe it's my family, or maybe it's, I don't know, something else. I don't know if I'd ever put my family out there like that, but maybe like family like content. Like, I'm like on a farm and I got cows and shit, and like I start making content like, hey, I'm out here with the cows. Like, I just feel like I could just document anything, like, I feel like it's so cool what you can create. That's what I love about social media. Like, there's no rules.
how much time does it take? I mean, is it
All my time.
I feel like it's a huge time commitment.
Well, as you know, right now my goal is to grow GoToList. Real quick, this is an ad for GoToList. This is actually a Facebook ad we have. Check it out. Attention, Amazon FBA booksellers. I used to hate listing books on Amazon because of how long it took, but GoToLister has fixed that. GoToLister allows me to scan, label, and ship 100 plus books per hour. It's the fastest listing software that exists for Amazon sellers. Listing fast allows me to spend more time finding profitable inventory rather than listing all day. One of the best things about GoToLister is our intelligent pricing feature that automatically prices your faster selling items at higher prices. Click the link below to give GoToLister a free trial for 14 days. So, like, when it comes to building a profitable Amazon business, it's all about going out, finding profitable books, spending time. Like, if you're a thrifter, you can, like, what you can measure for effort is how many scans do you get per hour, or how many scans do you get per day. If you're scanning 2,000 to 5,000 books a day, you're going to be finding a shit ton of books as long as you're going to like semi-decent sources. But now GoToLister, I've been working on the software for like coming up on 3 years. Crazy. Now it's like, how do I get more users? Instead of getting books, I'm getting users to the software. Well, it's like, okay, now it's create more content. So I created content way before I even thought about offering anything to my audience. I created content when I was in college. I would just go on Snapchat and just post the stupidest things to make my friends laugh. And then I started my YouTube channel in 2018. I think I did kind of have an intention back then, like, hey, maybe one day I could monetize this. Maybe YouTube will pay me. Maybe Instagram will pay me. Like, maybe I could not necessarily sell anything to my audience, but I could monetize this. And then it turned into restricted inventory, and people started sending me their books. And then now it's GoToList. But now my big metric is like, how much content am I producing? So it can really take as much time as you want. I don't think I'm the most efficient at creating content. I think guys like Gary Vee and Alex Hormozy are way more efficient than me. Like Alex Hormozy allegedly like sits down for 4 hours once a day and makes all of his content for the full month. And I'm not nearly that efficient. Wow. And Gary Vee just has a camera guy record everything he does. So everything he does is content, which you could look at that as a hyper efficient, or like maybe all he's ever doing is creating content. So it's not very efficient, but I certainly do dedicate a lot of time strictly to content. Like right now, what we're doing, I set aside time for YouTube videos. I set aside time to make reels. I'd probably put 40, 50 hours a week, if not more, just into content right now. So it's one of those things that can take more or less time. Like you could just start a podcast like I do and ask better questions than me, so you get better concise answers. That's a big thing about podcasts, is if you ask a good question, you get a concise minute-long answer. Then you can take that clip and now arbitrage it on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Facebook. And so you could sit down, this is what Russell Brunson and Gary Vee do, and just shoot one podcast for an hour and a half. And then now you have content for the full week, short form, on all those platforms. One to two shorts a day, or short form content a day on TikTok, Facebook. Like you can post the same short form on 4 platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. And maybe it'll blow up on one, but not the others. That's fine. Just like scanning books, you have to keep scanning the books. You have to keep posting the content, and eventually you'll get one that, dings. And so yeah, you can kind of like, you can be really efficient with it if you want, or you could. I mean, I'm not going to say it's inefficient, but look at Mr. Beast. He's the best YouTuber ever, but he puts like months of planning into one video. He'll put like a week of planning and $100,000 into a short form piece of content, like a TikTok, a 60-second TikTok. He flew some dude to like England to like, I forgot even what he did, but he went to England, did one thing, and then flew back to the States, and Mr. Beast paid him like $1,000 or something to do that. And it's like, that was a 60-second clip, but some guy had to like dedicate 3 days of his time, to get that done. So I think at your phase, I think at any phase, it's like, just don't overthink it. Just go out there and do it. And the difference between this and purchasing inventory, like online arbitrage books, is like, if you purchase inventory, that's money that may never come back to you. Whereas like, yeah, you'll never get your time back for the content you created, but you're not losing money. Like you can post. Who gives a shit? Like if you post something and it doesn't do well because nobody saw it, why do you care?
True.
That kind of changed my perspective. Miami Sellers Conference last year, we had Austin. He's a young kid. He was like 19 at the time, or maybe 20. I think he was 19 still though. But he's crushing it. But he was like, if you make an Instagram reel and it doesn't do well, who gives a shit? Nobody saw it. And so what he'll do is he'll post the same reel, and he knows in his head, this should be good. And he'll just tweak the intro to it. So he's like, I know this is good, valuable content. I know it could do well, but maybe the hook sucked. So then he'll use that same piece of content, but just edit the hook. And so he'll reshoot a different hook. Instead of like, I'll teach you how to get rich, he'll say like, this is like the 100% accurate method of creating wealth. And then maybe that one does better, maybe does worse, So trial and error.
And like you said, it can't hurt. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Like I wouldn't have my Amazon business if I had done nothing, and you wouldn't be where you are if you had just been paralyzed by like, I don't really know what this can be. It's like, who cares? Like it'll be better than where you are now. Like you're going to learn things along the way. So
nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yes, sir.
Where can people find you at? I know you're in the Facebook groups. Are you in you're in the GoToLister community, probably, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're in Victor's Facebook group, which will link below. Do you have any other social media you want to shout out?
That's it for now. Go into that group. You'll find me, Jordan Lopez. Ask questions, and love to help you guys out if you have any curiosities, anything I can help out with, let me know.
Sweet. Appreciate you so much, man.
All right. Thanks, bro, for having me on. Really appreciate you.
100%.